Tonight, one of the most important workshops that we're going to have probably this year, it's not as sexy as the word cancer. Everybody hears the word cancer and they come out of the woodwork because of the marketing that the American Cancer Society does. Heart disease has another one. We have 100 people show up for that one. When you talk about body armor, it's how you keep from getting those things, right? Raise your hand if you'd like to put more time and energy and effort into prevention than you do actually getting over the illness. That's why you're here. I'm speaking to the choir, and yet there's 40,000 people in Capel that needs to be here tonight and hear this tonight. So it's being taped tonight. I would like every single person, once it's taped, send that out, viral it through your Facebook and whatever, and Twitter and whatever the other things are. Now there are new ones that I've never heard of. I just got back from vacation. And it's interesting too, being on vacation and traveling abroad, you see things differently. You guys know what I'm talking about? You just see things differently. You drive down the street here, you drive down the street in a third world country, it's a whole different ballgame. And I've always liked to do things big. That's why, you know, I saw poverty, I want to do something. I remember I was 4 years old, a commercial came on TV about little kids who didn't have any food. I'd never seen anything like it. And when I saw that, I told Mom, who was standing there, Mom and Dad, I said, Mom, I want to give all my allowance the rest of the year for a kid, all of it. And she goes, are you sure you want to do this? And Dad's like, I don't think we. And she goes, if he wants to do that, do that. So I as an early age, started out as somebody who saw a need and wanted to fill a need. And it moved on from there. Like, if you haven't been part of the office for decades, you won't remember because you weren't here, but we've done coat drives. We raised hundreds and hundreds of coats because I'm always in the community meeting new people, and I ran across a lady who was telling me, I said, what can we do? We always have a little bit extra, and we are trying to fill needs where we have. And she goes, I need coats. I have families and children who do not have any coats at all. So we raised coats, just used coats, new coats. We had so many coats. The old office we were in, we filled up every hallway. Like it was a fire hazard. I'm sure we were going to jail at some point. But it was food. We've done toy drives for Christmas. I sent 2 truckloads of food from my office over the food pantry for Thanksgiving one year, and they had to actually distribute it out from that food pantry to other food pantries because they had too much food at that one. Like, we're always trying to fill needs where we can. So I mean, when we started doing bigger things, like we work with 4 U.S. Olympic teams, we want to do things big for those guys. And so those guys were all about McDonald's because they're a major corporate sponsor. And so we were just, sorry McDonald's, hammering not to eat McDonald's, but we used our relationship with the U.S. Wrestling and U.S. Judo and all the rest to actually support local charities and those things, and started a clinic in Zimbabwe. So I had some people come from Zimbabwe. They heard us battles on TV. They came in, changed their life. They asked me to go to Zimbabwe. We went, saw the need there, and ended up spending 4 years of my life opening a clinic there, working with the United Nations, and just crazy, wonderful stuff. Well, it's always growing. We're always trying to do more, and we've really partnered with Compassion International. Some of you guys know about Compassion. We did something with them last year, but Compassion International is just a whole different ballgame of a group. I love Jesus. I don't back down from that in any conversation, TV, radio, or anything else. And so I wanted to work with somebody that would go out and help in a way that I thought I would, right? And so that's what we did. I want you to watch this. I'm going to bring somebody up here in just a second. I know it's odd to start a workshop out like this, but to me it was really important for you guys to get this.
My name is Dario Guerrero.
My name is Sudeshna Biswas.
My name is Jem Biro, and I was not born free. We didn't have anything growing up. My dad was nowhere to be seen. In the house, we would come in and there's nothing to eat. There's nothing to drink.
I grew up in a dysfunctional family, broken family. My dad was absent. My dad left. He left when I was 8 years old. He packed his tools, his stuff, and he says, I'm not gonna come back. My mom said, you're the oldest in the family, have to man up and be the man of the house. We had to look for a job. I was about 8 years old.
My grandmother, she was detected of a kidney failure. So in order to provide her with all the medical needs, we had to sell everything. We had to sell our house, and we were on the streets.
We started to beg for food and money. I started stealing and snatching things from people. And after some time I was arrested.
I would tell the kids playing soccer, hey, Daddy, I can't play soccer. I was like, I can't, maybe tomorrow. No, because I'm working tomorrow. I remember a guy and I said, hey, I'm just tired, I want to go home. Well, if you want to pay you for the whole month, you have to work until I tell you. What if I don't want to work? You pay me home the days I worked? No. So I have no way out.
There were times when I asked my mom, why do others wear fancy clothes and why don't we wear fancy clothes? She just kept quiet and her eyes were red, but then she tried to stop her tears. I understood what poverty is. I felt trapped. I was sure that my future would be the slums.
The moment I entered prison, I felt like I came to hell. That's when I decided to kneel down. And I remember praying to God, if you are there, if you exist, please take me out of prison. And the most importantly, take me out of poverty. I got out of prison, but I went back to Madare. But by God's grace, that's when Compassion International came in.
My dad took me to this project, and the first thing was somebody was standing there with a smiling face. I had not seen a smiling face for a long time.
The pastor invited myself, my sister, and a bunch of other kids to come to church, and he told us about compassion.
In the program, they'll give us food, they'll teach us the Word of God, and I wrote a letter to my first sponsor. Although it's somebody that I've never met, they knew that I can be somebody. And they also told me something that I had not heard from my family. They told me that they love me.
We got new uniforms, and new shoes, and a backpack. I never had anything new in my life. It smelled good, it was new, it was clean, the shoes were amazing. I was so proud.
I started looking at myself as somebody who is actually going to end up to be somebody. And I felt like I was free all of a sudden. Free from poverty, from hunger, from prison.
Free to live, free to dream.
And I have a new life in Christ, and I have joy and peace and everything possible in Christ. My name is Sudeshna Biswas.
My name is Jay Mbiro.
My name is Dario Guerrero, and I am free.
I'm free.
I am free.
That is awesome. Is that great? You can give a round of applause for that. That's good stuff. I know it's crazy to start a workshop on the immune system and how we maximize that with that. I don't know if I've ever done that just like that before. But we are partnering with Compassion International on the 8th of August to raise funds to make sure we reach as many of those kids as we possibly can. So our outlet for that is Stephanie. Stephanie's also a patient here. She's been a Maximize Living patient forever. So I just wanted to, we really are partnering. So I want you guys to kind of hear how we're doing, what our ideas on that are, what we can do. It's going to be about 3 minutes, and we'll get into the talk. We'll go from there.
Sounds great.
Thank you. Lovely.
Right. So I wanted to ask, how many of you in here have a child, a grandchild, a niece, a nephew, or a friend that has a child that you just love and adore? All right, pretty much everybody in here. So if you think about those children or that child for a moment, and think about if they were in great need and you knew about it, what lengths would you go to help them? Did you know that over 600 million children in the world today, just like those children you're thinking about, live in extreme poverty? And extreme poverty is defined as living on less than $1 a day, which to us is quite the paradigm shift. So as you can imagine, these children have tough time accessing food, access to education and healthcare, and clean water. As you can see right here, that's pretty dirty water. This bucket represents the water that many of them have to drink that contains disease and bacteria and many things that could lead to the end of their life if not treated. So what Compassion does in situations like this, our whole goal and our whole mission is to partner with these children to rescue them from poverty in Jesus' name. So we do that holistically and through the local church in their community. And the most important piece of the partnership is for caring individuals like yourselves to step up and say, I'll care for a child. I'll provide that food, the access to education, access to health care, and clean water for a child. So for $38 a month, that's little more than 2 dinners out a month. You can choose to sponsor a child and partner with them in providing the food and access to education, healthcare, water, and so much more. I just don't have time to tell you all about the program. The other thing I want to share with you before I'm done is this Water of Life bucket. Basically what this is, every child who joins our program is guaranteed access to clean drinking water. And this provides over 1 million gallons of drinking water for the child that we provide it for. That is more than one family can drink within their whole lifetime. So when you provide this, you're providing not only access to clean water for the child, but for the entire family. And that bucket is $79 US to provide that for a child and a family. So I just want to challenge you to consider and think about, can you change your life a little bit to change a child's world forever? So thanks.
Ooh, that's good. Give me a hug, come here. So she's a very successful person who could go out and do anything she wanted to, and decided that that's what she was going to do with her life, is to actually go and make sure she took care of that problem. That's a pretty big deal, would you agree? That's awesome. So we really appreciate you doing that. And she travels over there, she does a lot of cool stuff. And at some point in time, maybe have pictures of kids or something else that would be really cool, and the people that we're helping or something, that would be awesome. Okay? All right, ready? Switch gears. Everybody ready? All right, on to the other. For me, I truly believe that we are dealing with the sanctity of the human immune system and really possibly the loss of it. If you were raised in the same time I have been, that every time that you may have anything going on, that maybe more than just the sniffle, it's, well, I had this, I had to take an antibiotic, right? It's, I had a fever. So, it's 102, 103. I had to take something, right? I had to take a fever reducer. There's almost a I have to. Everybody say I have to, right? How does I have to feel? I don't like I have to, right? Put your hand up like this. Go like this. Good. Now, go like this to your neighbor. I don't care which one you like most. Sorry about the other one. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Now, what happened was, I didn't tell you guys to put, but as soon as you start to push, that's good. As soon as you start to push on the other one, guess what the other person does instinctively? Push back. If I tell you have to do something, there's a pushback. You don't really want to do it. But everybody say, I want to. I love to. I get to. I choose to. It's my idea. That's the point. If you can live a life with I want to, love to, choose to, I get to, it's my idea, then guess how life becomes? It becomes a lot easier. And what I want to do is I want to give you freedom, much like you saw on that right there. But I was with a parent not too long ago. She has 2 children. They're younger, less than 10. But she says she's never gone through her children having a fever or having an infection of some kind and never not giving them something. And she's got a little fear in her, a little more than probably most. She rushes off to the pediatrician at the drop of a hat. But she literally allowed me to walk her through, like we do here, to get her kids healthy again. And the first time that they actually had something go on, she didn't take them in, she didn't give them a medication, didn't give them a drug, and of course they were through it within 12 to 24 hours. And she came back in tears in a good way, and she goes, that was the most freeing situation I think I've ever been. I didn't know that my kids could heal without an antibiotic. And she's a younger mom, right? Some of you guys are a little bit older, and you're like, well, that's silly. Of course you. But listen, if you're a younger parent, you're in your 20s right now, 30s, whatever. You're literally, we're trained, and we know what we know. That's all we know, right? I want to give you the information tonight to set you free. Raise your hand if you'd like that. Got it? That's what I want to give you. I want to give you the understanding of the skin that you live in so that you get the most out of it. If I gave you a car today and it had heated seats and AC seats and a sunroof and it can make calls for you if you just touch a button, but I didn't give you a manual on how to use it, and I just gave you this car, you're like, oh, cool. You just start driving the car, and then a year later I come back and go, hey, how'd you like the seats that are AC seats, air conditioning seats? And you go, oh, it has air conditioned seats? Would you go, man, that was cool. I wish I'd have known that a year ago. Anybody else? Right? Or so on and so forth. You with me? Your body can do way more than you think. I want to give you a little bit of education on the immune system today, though. And you got to stick with me. It's pretty remedial, but it's about 2.5 minutes. But it goes through literally how your immune system works. And if you start to lose track, if I start to lose you, I just want you to start paying attention to how complicated the immune system is. You ready? So right here.
Every second of your life, you are under attack. Billions of bacteria, viruses and fungi are trying to make you their home. So our bodies have developed a super complex little army with guards, soldiers, intelligence, weapons factories and communicators to protect you from, dying. For this video, let's assume the immune system has 12 different jobs. For example, kill enemies, communicate, etc. And it has 21 different cells and 2 protein forces. These cells have up to 4 different jobs. Let's assign them. Here are the interactions. Now, let's make this understandable. First of all, let's add colors to the jobs. Now, let's illustrate the cells. The central color represents the main job of the cell, while the surrounding ones represent secondary duties. Now the immune system looks like this. Now the interactions. Isn't this complexity just awesome? For this video, we will only talk about these cells and ignore the rest. So what happens in the case of an infection? It's a beautiful day when suddenly a wild rusty nail appears and you cut yourself. The first barrier of the immune system is breached, your skin. Nearby bacteria seize on the opportunity and enter your wound. They start using up the body's resources and double their numbers about every 20 minutes. At first, they fly under the radar, but when a certain bacteria population is reached, they change their behavior and start to damage the body by changing the environment around them. The immune system has to stop them as fast as possible. First of all, your guard cells, known as macrophages, intervene. They are huge cells that guard every border region of the body. Most of the time, they alone can suffocate an attack because they can devour up to 100 intruders each. They swallow the intruder whole and trap it inside a membrane. Then the enemy gets broken down by enzymes and is killed. On top of that, they cause inflammation by ordering the blood vessels to release water into the battlefield, so fighting becomes easier. You notice this as a very mild swelling. When the macrophages fight for too long, they call in heavy backup by releasing messenger proteins that communicate location and urgency. Neutrophils leave their patrol routes in the blood and move to the battlefield. The neutrophils fight so furiously that they kill healthy cells in the process. On top of that, they generate barriers that trap and kill the bacteria. They are indeed so deadly that they evolved to commit suicide after 5 days to prevent them from causing too much damage. If this is not enough to stop the invasion, the brain of the immune system kicks in. The dendritic cell gets active. It reacts to the signals of the soldiers and starts collecting samples from the enemies. They rip them into pieces and present the parts on their outer layer. Now, the dendritic cell makes a crucial decision. Should they call for antivirus forces that eradicate infected body cells or an army of bacteria killers? In this case, antibacteria forces are necessary. It then travels to the closest lymph node in about a day. Here, billions of helper and killer T cells are waiting to be activated. When T cells are born, they go through a difficult and complicated training process, and only a quarter survives. The surviving cells are equipped with a specific setup. And the dendritic cell is on its way looking for a helper T cell with a setup that's just right. It's looking for a helper T cell that can bind to the parts of the intruders which the dendritic cell has presented on its membrane. When it finally finds one, a chain reaction takes place. The helper T cell is activated. It quickly duplicates thousands of times. Some become memory T cells that stay in the lymph node and will make you practically immune against this enemy. Some travel to the field of battle to help out. And the third group goes on to travel to the center of the lymph node to activate a very powerful weapons factory. Like the T cells, they're born with a specific setup. And when a B cell and a T cell with the same setup meet, hell breaks loose. The B cell duplicates rapidly and starts producing millions of little weapons. They work so hard that they would literally die from exhaustion very fast. Here, helper T cells play another important role. They stimulate the hard-working factories and tell them, "Don't die yet, we still need you. Keep going." This also ensures that the factories die if the infection is over, so the body doesn't waste energy or hurt itself. But what is produced by the B cells? You've heard of them, of course, antibodies. Little proteins that are engineered to bind to the surface of the specific intruder. There are even different kinds of antibodies that have slightly different jobs. The helper T cells tell the plasma cells which type is needed the most in this particular invasion. Millions of them flood the blood and saturate the body. Meanwhile, at the site of infection, the situation is getting dire. The intruders have multiplied in number and start hurting the body. Guard and attack cells fight hard, but also die in the process. Helper T cells support them by ordering them to be more aggressive and to stay alive longer. But without help, they can't overwhelm the bacteria. But now the second line of defense arrives. Billions of antibodies flood the battlefield and disable lots of the intruders, rendering them helpless or killing them in the process. They also stun the bacteria and make them an easy target. Their back is built to connect to killer cells, so they can connect and kill the enemy more easily. Macrophages are especially good at gnoming up the bacteria which antibodies have attached to. Now, the balance shifts. In a team effort, the infection is wiped out. At this point, millions of body cells have already died. No big deal, the losses are quickly replenished. Most immune cells are now useless, and without the constant signals, they commit suicide, so as not to waste any resources. But some stay behind, the memory cells. If this enemy is encountered ever again in the future, they will be ready for it and probably kill it before you even notice. This was a very simplified explanation of parts of the immune system at work. Can you imagine how complex this system is? Even at this level, when we ignore so many players and all the chemistry. Life is awfully complicated, but if we take the time to understand it, we always encounter endless wonders and great beauty.
Now, just so you know, that's all that we know so far. Okay? Did you see some design in there a little bit? Did you see how it said this has to make a decision to do this or that? Did you see that? And then at least 3 other times it said it had to make a decision to do this or do that, or which type of antibodies to make. And do you see where I'm going with this? Let me show you a picture. I'm going to show you a picture of all the biomechanical or biochemical pathways that your immune system has. You see that? So there's a test on this next month. If you would just go ahead and memorize this, it would be really good. Now, why do I put that up? Not to confuse you, and not because I don't know that either. I'm just going to be honest with you. There was tests on that at some point I had to learn, but probably in pieces. The point I make is your doctor doesn't know anything about the exact specific fingerprint, individuality of what's going on in you and decisions going on in you when he or she writes an antibiotic. Does that make sense? Are there time for antibiotics? I'm not saying there's not time for antibiotics, but I'm saying, is there a time for a fever reducer? Possibly. Not that I've ever used one as a parent. But the point is, those don't take in effect what's going on in whose body? In your specific body. And so what I need you to do is you need to understand there's more things going on than you can literally shake a stick at. Got it? And if you get that, then you won't just randomly throw something in there into the amazement of all of this organization going on internally to you for your benefit, and then you jump in there and go, well, I think that fever should go down. And your body is literally sending millions of cells and interrelated relationships to make that happen, and you make a decision to go, no, I don't think that's right. Really? Based on what? Because you feel bad because you have a fever? Right? Do you see where I'm going? So I need to show you how to work with it. Did you also see that the memory cells, like some of those memory cells were left behind, right, to give you immunity, right? Guess how you don't get those? You don't get those by not allowing the body to strengthen. Andrew Weil says that the immune system only gets stronger in battle. That's it. Yeah. There was a study done in immunity, and they tested people's immunity, and the people with the highest immunity in the entire population of people tested were people who were raised in daycares. Did you know that? Why? What are they around? A bunch of other kids like this, and do you want this toy? Did you like that, right? Had the highest, listen, less cancer rates, less heart disease, less disease rates, less everything. They had better immune systems across the board. And yet I have literal parents who are like, do you have any antibacterial spray or gel? Or, listen, I tried to go adjust a patient at the hospital the other day, would not let me in. It was, this was one during the fall, would not let me go past the front desk. By order of the hospital, would not let me go in unless I put that stuff in my hands, which I don't use, by the way, because it's got triclosan in it, which is a liver toxin. But I had to adjust that patient, so I went, oh, okay, I'll do it, right? So the point is, we want this to go on, okay? There's that quote by Andrew Weil right there. Love it. Our immune system develops in combat. So let's go through this. You see it everywhere. Time Magazine, you see it on CNN, you see it on Fox News, you see it on every news channel. But it really is about prevention. And the reason it's like a time bomb in the body is because you don't know it's going to happen until when? Till it happens, right? It's just that way. But let's talk about a couple things. What's your biggest personal asset? Biggest personal asset? Okay, sure. Now the doctor's talking. You have to say health. But listen, if I wasn't, if we were just hanging around, we were on, whatever at the restaurant or something, you might say your house, right? I mean, that's a big investment, right? Maybe your cars, or maybe you've got a retirement fund or something. I can guarantee you it's not your most important and most valuable possession. Because when it happens, if you're not prepared, right? If you lose your health, what are you willing to spend? And you see it. Every single person here could name somebody that spent everything trying to get their health back if they got cancer or they had open heart surgery or something, right? Am I right? Everybody can do that, right? So this is the number one. And so the answer is health. It's period. It's end of story. And what you have to do is you have to be willing to do those things and make those changes before it happens, right? I had somebody come to my house the other day. They hadn't been to my house. It was almost like they were coming into the inner sanctum. They were like, I get to go to Dr. David's house. Like they're looking around just to see if there's anything that shouldn't be in there, right? Like I love when I see people at the grocery store, they're like, hey, how you doing? No, it's really good to see you too. No, hey. And they're looking at my cart like they're going to catch me with Twinkies or something, which you won't. But they walk into my house and they look in my food pantry and stuff because they didn't like, okay, so they like talk to me, like check stuff out. I had them in my house for that reason. But they literally said, oh, you really do live different. And we live differently because if you don't live differently than everybody else, you'll get what? What everybody else is getting. And in the sickest country on the face of planet Earth, you don't want that. So how do we keep that from happening? Tonight we're going to talk about three things, and we're going to do that through the 5 essentials. Number one, where and what your immune system is. It's so interesting to me that we talk about the immune system, people don't even know where it resides in the body. The number one thing that you can do daily to weaken your immune system, anybody want to know that one? Yeah. This is a huge one. Okay, and then a proven protocol to boost your immune system up to 300% and heal naturally. Would anybody like to be 300% better in their immunity? Yay. Absolutely. So the other ones that didn't raise your hand? So no? Okay. So if you change your perspective, you change your life. Look at this picture. What do you see? What do you see? A girl, right? See a hat. Do you see like a little 14-year-old girl there?
Oh, I see.
Right? Does anybody see the old lady?
Oh, the old lady.
Right? So everybody sees the young lady first. But watch. There's can you see that? There's the old lady's eye. There's her chin. There's her mouth. There's her nose. See a little bump on her nose right there? Okay, there's her nose. There's her eye. Do you see her? There's her chin right there. She's smiling. Do you see the old lady now? Some of you guys are like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The point I make is you have to change your perspective. I want you to change your... Do you think that the Urban family has a different perspective on immunity and health than most people? Or just life in general, right? But don't wake me up. It seems to be working for us. And for everybody else that does it, and we have 650,000 people a week that go through care, and we're opening 35 to 50 offices a year. Trust me, it's working. But the point is we have a different perspective. So let me change your perspective a little bit, okay? How about... something like malaria. How many people get malaria a year? Anybody? Malaria? How many people? Just give me a number. Just guess.
3.2 million.
3.2? Did you read it? Because that was on the money. So that's actually add a couple zeros. It's 300 million people get malaria a year. 300 million. Okay? Less than 10% have any serious reactions from malaria. Did you get that? But if I said I got malaria, you go, oh my God, did he die? Right? But I have less than a 10% chance. I mean, if there's not even a 10% chance of rain, I might even bring an umbrella. But you talk about malaria, people freak out. How about, listen, malaria is in a third, you're not going to, okay, how about here? What's the malaria in North Texas? West Nile. All right, let's talk about West Nile. How many people have a serious reaction from getting bit by a mosquito with malaria or with West Nile? Less than 1%. In all of the entire United States, there were 61 people last year. 61. And out of the less than 1% that have a serious reaction, it's less than 10% of those that will have a serious enough reaction to actually die. But I say West Nile, you're like, oh my God, there's a mosquito. I might die from a mosquito, right? Spray those bugs, man. Spray them, right? We talked about that a while ago, right? We talk about the spray. The spray is completely harmless, yes? Right? The guy that owns the company that's spraying here, have you ever seen them when they're messing with the chemicals? They're wearing hazmat suits that look like space suits. actually said if you had one drop on the back of your hand, you would die. It's so toxic. And yet they're going to spray your door handles, where your pets run around in the yard, the chairs outside in your lawn. They're going to spray everything down. They're going to kill bats, birds, bees, things that buzz. They're going to everything that has wing or feather outside. They're going to kill. Does that make sense? Oh, it won't kill them. It's not that bad. They didn't die last time. But do you think that it's good for you? Right? All for what? Less than 10% of the less than 1%. Do you see a problem there? Yeah. And people go, well, listen, but you may save a life. What do you do about that? Well, okay. But what about the 10,000 people in North Texas that die from respiratory? You see where I'm going with this? Right? I could get heated on it. But the reason I want to change your perspective is, are the things that you're scared about as scary as you think? Right? How about a fever? If your child, raise your hand if you got kids. Come on, raise your hand quickly. If you got kids, right? If your kids it's funny, her kid raised her hand. Mom, raise your hand. Aren't you proud of me? No, I'm just kidding. So watch this. My child had a fever. It was 103. And, I was kind of freaked out a little bit. Went to 104. Not very comfortable with that. Went to 105. Now I'm a bad parent. Went to 106. Take me to jail. Not really, but nobody knew it but us. Went to 107. Stayed at 107, and it stayed at 107 for a week. This is when she was, how old was she? Was she 5? 4. She was 4. It was Zoe, right? Everybody's seen Zoe. Everybody knows Zoe. She was junior Olympic gymnastics. Did I give her any fever reducer? No. Did I take her to the hospital? No. If she'd gone a little bit longer and she'd been dehydrated, I'd had to do something and give her an IV. But do you see where I'm going? Why? Because I know that God did not create a fever to hurt her. He created a fever to what? Help her. To help her. And if he wants that fever to be high, then guess what it should be? High. Do you know you won't even kill viruses until you get 103.5? You won't kill a virus. That's why kids that are given fever reducers every time they have a fever are 200% more likely to have cancer in their lifetime. But you didn't know that. They didn't tell us that, right? So the point is, how do you make this better? You change your perspective, okay? How about symptoms? Everybody says, well, I don't have symptoms, and my immune system's healthy, right? I don't have allergies, I never get sick, I must have a really good immune system, right? No, because it's not about symptoms. It's about a strong immune system before the time bomb does what? Blows up before you know about it, okay? Mainstream medicine would be much different if they focused on prevention, even half as much as they focused on intervention, right? But symptoms are just like fire alarms, right? I think they're great. I think you need them. I'm so glad I have a fire alarm. Get me out of the house. But you know what I'd rather do? I'd rather keep from a fire burning in my house, right? Let's not just leave open flames and newspaper all over my house. How about that? Would that be good? Or candles turned over on the side in the middle of the Christmas tree. How about that? Do you see what prevention is? You treating acid reflux or high blood pressure or cholesterol or thyroid issues or asthma or whatever else, allergies, with a medication is like having the alarm go off for a fire and everybody goes, man, that dang alarm again. And we've all done it, haven't we? Because you had something burn on the stove and you took a broom and did what? Bam, boom, bam, bang. You just, and then, it turned off. Fix that one, right? Did you fix it? No. If there was a real fire, you're doing what? And the fact of the matter is, if you have those things going on and you don't fix the cause that's creating it, then it's just a symptom, and eventually that creates what? All the things you are actually scared of. Does it make sense? All right. Where's your immune system at? These are things you never even thought about. So skin, did you know your immune system's in your skin? Did you know your immune system's in your adipose tissue? It's in your fat. Did you know it's in your vascular system here? Did you know it's in your brain? Did you know it's in your skin? Did you know it's in your liver? Did you know 70% of your immune system's in your gut? Did you know that, right? So we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? It's all over the place. So when I say immune system, I'm not just talking about your lymph nodes, I'm not just talking about liver, I'm talking about all over the place. And let me tell you how powerful it is. Everybody watch this video. Amazing video. This is an actual human being, live human being. This is this big cell here, this is a cancer cell, okay? These are your immune system cells, and they recognize it, and boom! You should feel sorry for that cancer cell. Yeah. Like little ninjas. Watch this one. I think it's down here. Yeah, watch this one. They recognize it, and see ya. Did you see that? There's another one. Cancer cells, and see ya. Boom, destroyed, done. And did you realize that your body is fighting off cancers every single day? You have between 10 and 100 cancer cells develop every single day of your life, and your body took care of it. You never had to know about it. And you never get cancer. How about that? And if you did have cancer, guess what? Then it gets really crazy. Did you hear what I'm saying? All hell broke loose? Kind of like that line right there. And then you saw this, there's a quote from 300 or whatever that was. That was just hilarious, right? But there's two really important organs. Immune system in the nerve supply and the digestive system, okay? Or the gut, if you will. Okay, starting here. This literally was just last week. If you look at the date, or last month, I mean, 6/12/2015. Do you see that date? Right? This is from neuroscience, and they literally discovered a physical connection between the brain and blood supply to the immune organs. That is crazy, crazy, crazy. I mean, that, just so you know, I'm a neurologist, and I get nerdy. I mean, I get jacked up nerdy when I see stuff like this. This is proving everything I've taught for 20 years, that when your immune system needs to be heightened, your brain has to what? Be healthy 100%, right there. That's it. Now, how about your gut? Immunity in your gut. Now it looks gross, whatever else. I know these are really sick pictures that have been out for a month here. But this is a healthy gut. This is an inflamed gut. You see all the red like capillary tissue there? See that? This one is ulcerated. This is where you see holes and stuff in this. And then this is where you see deepened holes. It's basically like Crohn's here. Do you see that? So ulcerative colitis, then more of a Crohn's disease. And it's kind of a progression step like this. Do you see that? Why is that important? Because your gut is a major source of your immunity. Why am I talking about that? Because raise your hand if at any point in your life you've ever taken an antibiotic, and I'll raise my hand first. And guess what? If you've ever taken an antibiotic, guess what you did to your gut? You wiped it out. It's like going to the rainforest and taking everything down to the dirt. And guess what? Your brain weighs about 3 pounds. Guess how many pounds of bacteria you have in your gut for your immunity? About 3 pounds. 3 pounds of bacteria. Did you know that? And you take an antibiotic. They actually did a dental study on patients that were healthy patients that, you ever had dental work and they had to give you an antibiotic? We just talked about that. They took healthy people, took their blood results, and they wanted to see how long it took them to get healthy again, healthy immune markers again. It took the average person 18 months to get healthy again after taking 1 round of antibiotics. So if you're not, quote, healthy and you're run down, your immune system's taxed, and now you've got a sinus infection or you got something, and you take an antibiotic, now how long does it take? Do you see why this reciprocates all of a sudden? All of a sudden everybody takes an antibiotic once a year, every 6 months, right? You see that? And just so you know, there's studies out there that show that your rates of cancer go up 1.9% every time that you take in a round of antibiotics and are additive throughout a lifetime. So you take 10 rounds of antibiotics, you're 20% more likely to have cancer in your lifetime. You see where I'm going with this? This is things that people don't know. I just like that healthy picture right there. The problem, bad gut equals what? Weak what? Immunity, okay? So just go through them. Poor nutritional status, vitamin deficiencies, this is what it leads to. High carb, low fat diet, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, I'm gonna talk about this one. Leads to inadequate sleep, poor oxygenation, digestive stress, unbalanced stress hormones. Also, depression. Guess where your body makes the majority of all the serotonin that you have in your body? From your gut. So if you have dysbiosis, you've got a bad gut, then that's where a lot of people are depressed or anxious. Do you see that? Right? It's crazy talk. But where does it come from? How do you get a bad gut? This is the majority of the ways. Okay? Starts out with this, then you're not healthy, then you end up having a bad gut, and then because you have a bad gut and your immunity goes down, then you actually succumb to something and your body actually is trying to mount a response, and then we do what? We take the antibiotic or a medication or something. You guys with me? Why is this bad? It's because it's completely the opposite. Like, should you have 6+ bread, cereals, and grains, right? If you're a guest here, I've taught on this for about 20 years. It's not that like we want to poo-poo grains continually, but grains have a high glycemic index. They turn to sugar very quickly, which is drive your sugar pathways, drives people to diabetes, all the rest. But it's an empty carb now. Nowadays, with the way that carbs are, they're just all empty, no nutrition. But most plates look like this. You got some veggies over here. You got a lot of fruits. You got a lot of grains. You got a lot of proteins. You got a lot of dairy. You got a lot of, right? So it looks like this. And this may seem very neutral and natural for some of you guys. And then you go on a little bit, and you're like, well, we'll just have a little something. We just, we're out having vacation, so we'll have some of this. Kind of turns to this in a little bit, so we stop by Denny's, we get a little of that, right? Hey, maybe hey, this looks pretty good. Get a little chicken, get a little biscuit. Hey, and I'm from backwoods Oklahoma. I showed you everything I lived on, okay? I mean, that was my life for the first 20 years. But that's where most people live, right? Do you think, I mean, just think about it. If you really, you don't have to read, you don't have to have a double PhD. Would it make sense that having all this stuff would lead you to a really healthy gut? Couldn't, okay? 70% in your gut. Okay, so there's 4 steps. You ready? Let's lock this down. Let's land this plane. Everybody with me? It's kind of warm in here. We have to do a little something. Good. Move around a little bit. 4 steps. Number 1, we're going to nourish your gut. 2, remove the immune system suppressants. Replenish your gut brain. That's number 3. Number 4, unlock your nervous system. These are the steps to massive immunity. Massive immunity. And take pictures. Put that on Facebook. Did you get it? Good. All right. So number 1, nourish the gut. What's that book? Somebody. Somebody went, that's the book. That was part of your care when you started care in the office. This book is the Maximize Living Nutrition Plan book, and it has the advanced plan in it. Again, guests who are just our newest tonight, advanced plan is what we teach. Reverses diabetes, decreases inflammation, gets joints back going again. My mom, who was here when my mom was here this morning? Anybody? So a couple of you guys were here? So my mom was here this morning. My mom has just finished her first half marathon. She won first place 2 times in a row, which she's never done before, in 5Ks. And my mom was never a runner. She never ran at all until her late 60s. Now she's in her 70s, mid-70s, and she doesn't walk. My mom doesn't do that. My mom runs. And if she ever gets into a race where there's more than 2 or 3 or 4 people in their mid-70s and she gets beat, she's like, that's it, I'm going back into training. This is serious now. But she gives me a selfie every single Saturday morning of her at a race winning with a first place or somewhat close to a first place and her new t-shirt, right? And she's so proud. The reason that happened is because my mom has a killer immune system. She's never sick. She does great. She wasn't like that. Her arthritis was so bad. She gained a little bit of weight. She bought into the fact that this is the way it's supposed to be when you get a little older. And I have people go, well, listen, I tried the advanced plan. I've done the advanced plan. Yeah? Did you do it 100%? Well, I mean, like 90. Well, no. Did you do 100%? No. Did you do 100% and you did it for several months? Well, I mean, I did it for several weeks. No. We do the advanced. Listen, you do that advanced one like my mom did. Here's the problem, though. Most of us don't get so far down that we're willing to do what? We're willing to do what? Anything. I'll do anything. Listen, you get a diagnosis of cancer, guess what you're willing to do? Anything. You end up having someone crack your entire chest cage open like this and do heart surgery, guess what you're willing to do? Anything. But listen, that's them. I don't have cancer. I didn't crack my chest open to get heart worked on. But you know what? That's what all of the people say that get there. They wish they'd have done what? What it took. I want every single person to be so sold out that not that you don't just have disease. This body was absolutely crazy designed to be spectacular. My mom, do you think she's loving life? She is loving life. In fact, the newspaper came to do a story on her front page of her hometown newspaper where they're at, in eastern Oklahoma, and did an entire 2-page article on my mom. Right? And my mom doesn't take the limelight very easily. She's like, I just like to do what I'm doing, and right? It's awesome. Number 1, how do you nourish your gut? You do the advanced plan. You don't do it halfway. You don't eat a bunch of sugar. And people talk about money all the time. Don't talk to me about money. Did you see the girl in that video that Stephanie had? She said, in that third world country, she said, my grandmother, because I didn't have parents, my grandmother had a kidney issue. We had to sell what? Everything, including the house, and live on the streets. Right? I had somebody so crazy. I had somebody tell me, I just don't know about the care. I think it's expensive. I don't know. And then literally turn around 6 months later and spend $300,000, everything they had. But they weren't willing to do what it took to get healthy then, because it wasn't what? That serious or important at that point. Does it make sense? So money is just the vehicle that, listen, what's cheaper, prevention or intervention? Prevention. Oh, Lord. Yeah, save this. Put this in the bank because you actually did something to keep it from happening. Now, when it remove the immune downers, that's processed food. Everybody look, you'll see something your favorite on there, right? No, I don't. Yes, you do. And if yours isn't on there, it's somewhere in there, right? Anything that's in a box, right? If you have a box at home, other than Kleenex, it's probably bad, right? But we got to remove that. Why? Because processed foods, are they live foods or dead foods? Dead foods just create a whole bunch of havoc in you. And basically what ends up happening, you have dead food. Guess what likes dead food? The healthy bacteria or the bad bacteria? The bad bacteria, we have overgrowth and we start having all kind of other issues. We have skin issues, we have emotional issues, we have digestive issues, we have all these other issues that come up. Remove them. What are they? Grains, okay? Wheat, rice, oats, corn, barley. I put oats in there. Do you know why? I keep getting the people to ask me, advanced plan, does that mean I can't have my oatmeal in the morning? It's steel cut, right? Because steel cut, it's got to be good. It's steel cut. Is oat a grain? Yes, it's a grain, right? It's going to keep the lining thick and inflamed, so you've got a leaky gut, and you end up creating immune issues. Conventional dairy. Why would I say conventional dairy, not just all dairy? Not all dairy is bad, right? In the Bible, they're doing lots of dairy, right? Well, you know, something that was good was land flowing with what? Milk and honey, right? And don't get too crazy on honey. We're trying to turn things around. But the dairy part, very good. The only time that it becomes bad is when we conventionalize it. We do pasteurization and homogenation, okay? That makes it into poison, literally. Sugars, we want to get rid of naturally and artificially. Again, I don't have time to go into it because we want to finish up early or on time tonight, but any of the artificial sweeteners, they're brain toxins. They literally, I don't see very many brain tumors ever that people are like some kind of weird neurological stuff that people aren't doing artificial sweeteners. And I promise you, don't believe me, you will come up short. I've been a neurologist for 20 years, and all I saw in practice, 100% of my practice was neurological conditions, and every single one of them were doing these things. But sugar's a poison. It's actually, it's a leacher of nutrition. If you actually eat sugar, or much sugar at all, it leaches your body's ability to digest and absorb and assimilate nutrition. So if you actually eat much sugar, you actually will be malnourished. We see that very often, especially in the culture that we're in. We see a lot of malnourished people. And obesity oftentimes is actually part of malnourishment. Did you get that? Right? So, but why would I put fresh fruits and vegetables up there? Well, because we actually want to stay away from, in the beginning of the advanced plan, we want to stay away from a lot of them, because if I take sugars out of your diet, guess what you want? 12 pounds of strawberries that Costco sells at one time, right? But it jacks up your sugars so much that it actually does the same thing. And so we want to actually start coming away from those quite a bit. Berries are okay, but the book talks about it perfectly. Third step, we want to nourish your brain, okay? The brain. Everybody say brain. Brain. Raise your hand and say brain. Brain. I want my brain to be good. All kind of things you can do nutritionally to support the brain, but the brain is fat. Say, I got a fat head. You want a fat head? If your spouse or friend calls you a fat head, it's okay. But your brain is mostly made out of fat. The reason that cholesterol drugs and things like that are so bad is they actually cause a decrease in cognitive function, all the rest. If you have a low-fat diet, we actually have decreased cognition, decreased intelligence on tests, because we need fat for the brain. Who here was, just let me talk to the patients. Who here was excited when I told you that you could actually have butter, and butter is good for you? Yay. Right? Right? David, come on. Are you with me, right? Yeah? I mean, right? Butter, and people go, no, it's not. Saturated fat. No. Saturated fat got a bad rap. Saturated fat is not bad. Saturated fat is good for you. Actually, to a certain degree, increasing your saturated fat much higher than you think actually decreases your rate of cancer, helps you overcome cancer, arthritises, depressions, all immunity increases just with good fats. And so we're going to talk about these things, but this is all good stuff right here. Got it? Okay.
Sensitive oil.
What's it? It's just a type of oil. Just a type of oil. Actually, there's. I like cod liver oil just as much as that. But I know, right? Right? They're like, you're in trouble. Take the cod liver oil. No, but actually, cod liver oil is very good for you. Cold pressed. They actually put a little orange flavor in it. Carlson's has a really good one. But there's a lot of other ways you can get it. I like to put a lot of variety in there. Is that okay? I mean, we don't sell that stuff, but I wanted you guys. You guys don't have to get everything from us. But this right here, this is probably one of the most exciting things that we've actually come up with in a long time. And you guys have heard me talk about this a lot, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's part of a great immune system is having a great protein. The reason that having a bad protein decreases your immune system is because within that protein there's bad fats and actually acidity off the chart. Got it? And so what you want is you want a clean protein, bioactive, which is a whey. Right? Now, do I eat meat? You bet you like a T-Rex. However, I'm doing less and less protein these days and doing more bioactive protein like whey, which specifically and more for me is this. Got it? And 100% of it's from pesticide-free, chemical-free, natural grass pastures, no grains or silage, which, a lot of these companies that say 100% grass-fed, they'll do silage. And we want a product completely free of that. Can you imagine how hard it is to find a cow and milk from a cow that's on a farm like that? That's kind of hard, right? This is good stuff. 4, supplement your immunity. Okay? Now, nobody here ever denies or ever even contends with the fact that your food has less nutrition in it now than it used to, right? Everybody knows that. Spinach has 40 times less iron than it did in 1960. 40 times less. Wow. How about that? Anybody want to eat 40 bowls of spinach to get the same? I mean, nobody can do that. And so why? Because we can talk about bioavailability of the ground. GMO, when they change plants into GMO, they actually have less bioavailability of absorption rates into the human. Like we think that everybody just has to have this food, right? They're not helping anybody, right? But so do you need to supplement? Yes. My goal is not to open this clinic and sell you just a million different vitamins. I just want you to have what you need. I didn't ever get into this to sell people vitamins. I wanted to clear people's nerve supply, which saved my life. And then I started realizing people aren't getting what they need. I have to do something to help them. And I have people ask me constantly. Then they go to Walmart and they go, I bought a bunch of stuff at Walmart. And I got a good deal. It's essential fatty acids, just what you said. It's EFAs and DHA and it's all the rest. And I got it for $2 for 175 million capsules. Right? Is this good? Right? And it's not. I went to Vitamin Shop. I paid $80 for this. No, it's horrible, right? And I'm not saying Vitamin Shop doesn't have some good stuff, but I had to do something. And so we started really walking people through what's good and bad. Raise your hand if you've been with Dr. Kimberly and she had you bring in your supplements and it entered the cabinet of shame. Anybody have a cabinet of shame one? You're so ashamed you can't even raise your hand up. I had somebody bring their essential fatty acid supplement in, and it had vegetable oil, and it had 2 or 3 different ingredients that were absolutely horrible. And they didn't even see it. It was supposedly a good brand and whatever else. Does it make sense? So you just don't know what you're taking. I want to make sure that you get good stuff. This is a chart. Let's start with this one. As far as immunity goes, you know what this chart is? This chart's for vitamin. Some of you go, I saw a chart. This is for vitamin D. This is your serum vitamin D levels. This right here, this level here, from here back, this is a 38, okay? Now the United States government, your doctor, if you had your serum, your vitamin D level tested, said it needs to be 30 or above. 30 is right here. This is all these colors. These are all the diseases that are completely prevented if your vitamin D level is above this certain level, right? Cancers all combined are between 51 and 65. And it would prevent 67% of all cancers. Do you think that your levels might need to be a little bit higher than you think? Yeah, a friend of mine, his mom lives in Canada, a very wealthy family. She lives in Florida 3-4 months out of the year. So she had low vitamin D, and her son was trying, Mom, you got to take this stuff. We've been doing vitamin D studies. She said, honey, I'm going to go live in Florida for 4 months. I'll test my vitamin D. I'll be in the sun every single day, all day. He said, okay, let's test it. Do you know her vitamin D went up like 4 points? It went from like a 12 to like a 16, right? Why? And it's because most of us are so unhealthy at this point that we cannot convert vitamin D from the sun through our skin because we're so toxic, because we're malnourished, because we're so deficient in nerve supply. It can't function the way that it should. So we have to push it a little bit, like a car, get it started a little bit, and then get it back on the road and then let go of it. Got it? Okay? That's what we have to do. That's why we came up with vitamin D. Raise your hand if you take vitamin D. Good. Raise your hand if you take our vitamin D. Good. Awesome. The reason for our vitamin D is because it actually is more absorbable. Actually, I had somebody come to me on vacation. I don't know how I draw it in, right? But she found out as a doctor and said that her mom has been doing vitamin D IV and they can't get her vitamin D up at all. I said, okay, yeah, I see that all the time. And I talked to her about a product. I'll guarantee you within the next 6 weeks her vitamin D will be up. So if you guys take it, make sure you get this. Also, another problem. Every single person here has this. So it's just where you're at, unless you've actually gone through the protocols to get rid of it. But this is what your bowel should look like, the top one. And we're going to talk about small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This will destroy an immune system. Okay, faster than almost anything else. This is a normal one. Okay, what you'll see is you've got different rates of bacterial concentrations. You see this? When you get to here, there's a high concentration of bacteria. Yes, do you see that? This is the colon, this is the ileum, this is the jejunum, this is the duodenum, this is up near the stomach over here. You see that? When you start eating high carb meals, which is what everybody does, you eat bread for breakfast and you eat bagels and you eat oatmeal and you eat orange juice and you eat bread for lunch on a sandwich and you have all these sugars in your tea and whatever. You have all this stuff. What ends up happening is you actually feed these bacteria and you grow them all the way up and out through the ileum into the jejunum like this. And basically what ends up happening is you have major fermentation, gas built up, and then you can't absorb through this lining and you start creating all these things, which starts out as what? Irritable bowel, then turns into what? More of an ulcerative, and then more into a Crohn's, deepening like that. Do you see that? And that's just, listen, the doctors that are taught now, the gastroenterologists say if you live long enough in the United States, you're going to have one of these diseases. The problem with it is, this happens long enough, you start getting things absorbed through here that are not completely digested, and you have whole undigested molecules going into your bloodstream, and your immune system has to get involved and go, man, that's not right. And then you end up having it happen so often that your immune system gets confused and it starts recognizing you as something that it needs to defend against. And so you actually end up having a what? What is that called? An autoimmune situation, which turns into MS, rheumatoid arthritis, and a million different things you can have. Yes? You guys get that? That's how it happens. How do you solve that problem? Well, you're here already. Now how do you fix this? That's what this Max GI is all about. It's actually got like clove, thyme, or oregano oil, and it's also got this lysozyme. And what happens is it goes in and it takes this billions and billions of strong bacteria that's actually now got a good foothold all the way into your ileum, like all the way up like that, and it actually kills them. Kills bad bacteria. Not the good one, the bad ones. And at the same time, it sets up the situation so that you can actually put good or probiotics down. Now, this is not a talk where I'm talking into probiotics. Raise your hand if you've heard that taking probiotics is good for you, right? I don't have to convince anybody of that. And I'm not here to just give you and sell you a bunch of probiotics. But what I do want you to do is I want you to actually have something that sets yourself up so that if you do take probiotics, that you actually have something in you. I go, well, I eat yogurt every day. I go, well, I don't care if you eat yogurt or drink kombucha or anything else. If you've got dysbiosis here and it's all the way up into your ileum, you could drink it, smoke it, IV it, you could do whatever with it. It's not going to grow in your gut. You've got to create this situation. Like if you just went out and you said you're going to start a garden, would you till it up? Would you get rid of the grass first? You wouldn't just go, I'm going to start a garden. Get a bunch of seed and throw it out on your front lawn. Why is the corn not coming up? I put tomato seeds out there. Just because you put the seed out there doesn't mean it's going to grow. You have to get the soil what? Prepared. That's what this is. Do you guys get that? Does that make sense? Okay. Next is glutathione. Okay. They're painting my house. Every inch of my house, by the way. Okay. I got home yesterday from vacation. Got into my house, and what did my house smell like? Oh Lord. I got home last night and it was late. I've been traveling all day. I get home, unpack my bags. I lost my laptop computer and basically 5 years of work on it, so I'm a little bit freaked out about it. And I'm a little bit stressed. My immunity's going down. I get home and I'm like, wham! I walk into this wall of fumes, and I have no alternatives. So I'm like, I have to sleep in a gas chamber. How do you think I felt when I woke up this morning? I feel great all the time. I got out of bed and I was like this. Oh, ow, oh. And then I felt like I had a bottle of wine the night before. I got up, my head was hurting, I had a headache. I went, is this how people live? My God, it's terrible. But one of the reasons that happened is because guess what all that did? The fumes, they actually caused oxidation because it's a chemical exposure. Yes, you guys with me? So they exposed me to chemicals. My body had to use antioxidants to actually deactivate the oxidation that was happening in my body, and it depleted massive amounts of my antioxidants, and then I had more oxidation than I had antioxidants in my bank accounts, metaphorically. And then guess what happened? I couldn't control all of it. I had more than I could handle. And guess what? I had a what? Headache. And listen, I'm a baby. I get a headache. I'm like, oh, baby, it's the worst it's ever been. I kept the next day looking for sympathy. The way that you keep that from happening is you need to start putting money in your glutathione bank. Does that make sense? How do you do that? I like to take supplements. I'm just being transparent. I like to take supplements that make me feel different, right? Or always did. You take a supplement, you're like, wow, I feel good. Like you're just energetic, right? This is not one of those. Sorry. But what you're going to do is you're going to take it, and without any feeling different, you have to be okay with that, because guess what's do you feel? I mean, if you didn't know about it, but somebody's putting money in a bank account in your name in a savings account, and they were putting $10,000 a month in there, you didn't know anything about it, would you be okay with it finding out when you need it and you had an emergency? Yes. What happens with glutathione and this product is you're taking something that jacks that up in your bank account so that when you do go to sleep at night in a house that you had painted and you didn't have a choice, it doesn't cause cancer. Right? Which is why we take this every day at my house. And my kids take it, and I take it. But it's in a product that you take it in the morning, and it actually causes all the bad stuff to be pulled through your cell membrane, the detox. And then it actually has a product you take at night that actually is activated carbon and a bunch of other stuff, charcoal. And so that you actually take it, and it binds 100% of the toxins that you're actually removing. And nothing else in the entire market has that. Got it? And so this is something that I want everybody to do. Okay? And it increases it. The last thing is this, nerve supply. Activate your nervous system. Nothing else has been shown better than this in the entire world. Literally, there's literally no study. There was a doctor in New York that actually did a study on cancer patients, and he showed that when they took cancer patients, they did a sham adjustment and they did a real adjustment. And the ones that got a real adjustment, their immune system went up 200%. And he wasn't really a fan of chiropractic, but what he said in the end of his article, he goes, it's my recommendation that there shouldn't be a cancer patient today that actually has to go through cancer without getting their spine checked and their nervous system taken care of, as at least, at the very least, as they go through the process. How about that? Is that crazy? Again, medical doctor, pro, University of New York. So, really turn on the power. How do you do that? Okay? Let's take a look at it. This spine nervous system, of course, again, you guys that are guests, this is where I sell you, right? Right? It's not a sell. It's just, you have to understand how your body works. It's the skin you live in. It's like the car that has all the little gadgets you don't know what they do. Your body is basically a continually set point of all these different nerves coming out, and these nerves go to different areas of the body. If that area has 100% nerve supply, guess what kind of immunity that part has? 100%. If you have, like, I had a kid come in recently having lung infections continually. Every time I turned around, I had pneumonia again. And guess what part of his spine was subluxated? The part going where? To his lungs. And as soon as we corrected that, guess what happened to his immunity and his tissue of his lungs? It up. I had another kid. They were about to take out his tonsils, okay, or her tonsils. And guess what? Her neck was completely shoved forward like this. Her bone was shoved right in her brain cement, and all the immunity from the nerve supply being choked off to her throat, right? Guess what happened to her throat? Was the tissue in her throat as healthy as it should be? No. And is a unhealthy tissue a better growing medium for bacteria and viruses? Yes or no? But don't blame it on the tonsils and adenoids, right? I mean, how many times does a doctor walk in, open mouth, well, those tonsils and adenoids need to come out. Look at those things. Swollen all the time, right? Is it the adenoids and tonsils' fault, or is it the fact that there may be something causing the tissue to be unhealthy, and that's the one line of defense that your body has as a result of it being swollen all the time? He thinks or she thinks it needs to come out, right? You remember what I talked about perspective, right? Here, every one of these goes to a different area. What's different in our office, guests and guys that haven't been here this long, you're about to see if you haven't seen your own x-rays yet, is literally we are going to correct your spine. You end up having issues. I remember your x-rays, we were celebrating as if it was Christmas. Your spine should be straight up and down. Everybody go like this. Take your hand, do this. Okay? It should be straight up and down. Now on the side view, go like this. Should be curves, okay? Has to have those. That's good. If you don't have the curves, or if you're not straight, your nerve, not just the spine, your nerve supply is compromised and your immunity is compromised. It's not a Dr. David philosophy. That is neurosurgeon after Nobel Prize after Nobel Prize. Do you see the difference after the two x-rays here? Which one would you rather have? Do you know why this is important? Because this person had Crohn's and decreased immunity, was sick all the time, no pain, no neck pain, no back pain, no pain symptoms whatsoever, just bowel issues. But can you see how crooked that is? 7 degrees right there. Straighten this person up. Guess what happened to their Crohn's? Guess what happened to their immune system? Guess how many times do you think they've been sick in 3 years now? No. 0, not one time. Hasn't been back to their doctor, right? Here, what's wrong with his neck? Should have a curve in it like this. It's straight. Go to the next one. About 2 months later, what do you see? It's not a perfect curve, but it's a better curve, right? Guess what happened to all the strep infections she was having? Well, they're gone. Hallelujah. Okay? I'll go through that one. Getting to the cause, chronic spinal stress, okay? Now, I said stress earlier. I made a joke about it because this was a longer talk. I want to make sure we cut this down as much as we could. But everybody here knows that if you're under chronic stress, you have chronic immune deficiency. Do you understand that? If you're under chronic stress, you have chronic immune issues. It's just as if, come here, it's just as if he's a bear and he's chasing me all the time, okay? Just keep chasing me. Keep chasing me slowly. Don't catch me. Come on, stay behind me. Come on, like we're trained. We're trained. Come on, Mark. So if he's chasing me all the time, right? I'm literally, every time I look back, what's going to happen to my adrenals? Ooh, oh, like this all the time. Do you see that? So what happens to my blood pressure? Goes up. What happens to my my glycogen stores, my body's ability to store energy, right? They go down, down, down. What happens to if I'm digesting food? What happens to my food not digesting? Whoa, whoa, it stops, right? Right? All these things happen when you're under chronic stress. Thanks, Mark. Give him a hand. So what happens is your body literally, when you're under chronic stress, it tears itself apart immune-wise. So you have to get that under control. One of the reasons we go on vacation like we did this last week, and I hate being away from you guys, that's why I try not to do it too often, is because I need to get away. I literally cry at least once or twice a week because I walk in with a new patient who should have heard this years ago, and they're on 15 medications, they've had 3 surgeries, and it should never have happened. And I go home crying, and I try not to bring it home to my kids, and I have to let it go. I always, someone asks me how I'm doing, and most of the time, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I'd say, saving the world one more time. And I literally would wear that weight on me every day. Some of you guys wear the weight of the entire responsibility of your kids lays on your, no, that's Jesus, He gave them to you, right? So it's your responsibility to correct your workplace to make it sure that it's all on you. No, it's not all on you, right? Did you agree with me? Everybody say it's not all on me. No. And that's okay, right? Chronic emotional stress, chronic metabolic stresses, inflammatory foods, all the things we talked about. Chronic inactivity, chronically not doing something you need to be doing. How about that? Has to have that. It's an essential. And then chronic toxicity, because we all live in it, okay? Now, as far as tonight goes, we kind of got a mind change. I want to make sure, now you didn't get a full mind change. I don't expect you to throw every medication you have out of your medicine cabinet when you get home, although I would love that. But you had a little bit of that. Now, there's some things that need to happen still. You need to have your nerve supply checked. If you're a guest, we want to make sure that gets done. Maximize nutrition, right? We're always, raise your hand if you're perfect. Everybody can stone you later, right? I'm not perfect either. I don't have this thing down. I haven't got it figured out completely. I love chocolate. I love those things. I had some great vacation meals on vacation, just so you know. But the point is, none of us are perfect. We're always getting better, and that's okay. Okay. But there's things we need to do. We need to get back to exercising, and if you're not, we need to minimize toxicity. And again, it's why we do monthly workshops like this. So always show up. I live every day of my life, and I think, how in the world can I get to more people that I've come to really love and appreciate, like the people in this room? I go on vacation, and I appreciate you guys even more when I'm not here. And you may think it's pathological to go on vacation and think about all of you guys here getting adjusted and then be a little bit jealous because I love it so much. But I wake up also with a burden every single day for every single time someone gets on that table and they give me an amazing testimony. I wear it two ways, and I am so excited about it. And I can't wait to hear about the next one. It's actually the only drink for the thirst I have. But at the same time, I think about the 100,000 people that probably have the exact same thing that are driving down the road today, and there was probably 300,000 people on that road today right outside. But there's just so many people who have the same thing that you do that nobody else ever gets to hear. And we're on the radio, we're on TV, we're doing all these things, we can't ever get to them. So I wanted to take a moment, which I never do, and I wanted to say thank you. So many of you people here are such on a mission to tell other people, and I never have the moment. I'm in that room and I'm so focused on that exact part of your spine that is so important to me at that moment, that right when I'm done, I know who's next, and I'm already concentrating on that part of their spine that's so important to me at that moment. And so I don't have time in that room to tell you how much it means to me that you guys constantly tell people. And that's the heart. It's the same 4-year-old that was watching that TV screen that wanted to give my allowance up for the next year if my parents would. That I try to instill into every one of you, and then when you carry that burden with me, it feels like all of a sudden we're going to make it. And we're going to actually change the town. Because I didn't set out to start one of the largest healthcare clinics in the world. What I started out to do is I just want to change the town where I live, because I don't want to live in a place that there's constantly people hurting and suffering that don't need to be. And you guys are all part of that solution. So let me say thank you. For you guys that are still working on those people that haven't said yes yet or said they'll come to dinner yet, keep working. Let me encourage you. I want to be like one of those cells going, you can do it. You can keep up. Keep going. Keep it up. I can tell you the joy you'll experience when you actually have that person listen to you and they're off their meds or their disease is gone or things are going great is like nothing you can. And listen, if you already experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. Got it? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray us up and we're going to leave. But I want to make sure that the guests that you see, the crew back there, they're going to make sure they got all your products up front, and then we'll go from there. Got it? So if you would bow your head. So Father, we love you and praise you. Ask a blessing over this just amazing group of people, over their health, over their purposes, over, like I've been saying, the skin they live in, that you would just bless it, Father, that you would give them health abundantly so they'd be examples for everybody else. You bless their hearts, you bless their minds, you give them eyes to see, ears to hear, that the information was revelation today, and because we were here, and because we were listening, Father, that there's going to be absolute change, and because of that, not only our lives, but other lives will be saved because of it. So we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, love and appreciate you. Thanks for being here.